Okie dokie. Smoky? Hokey smoky. Okay. Radicalism. The story of who wins. You know, that's the way I see it nowadays. Like I say, it would be my position on balkanization, is a form of radicalism. But I also see it as a form of who wins out. Who wins out in this struggle between, you know, democratic socialism versus autocracy versus whichever, right? Versus the current system that we are under. I saw that recent video by Uber Soy, which, I thought it was pretty good. I'll be honest with you. The different stories of the end, this and that, But nonetheless, to me, that's what radicalism is, right? I'm going to misquote something here, but you know what? I don't care. There's the idea of women's pragmatism butts heads with men's drunken idealism. And that's really what it is, right? Where pragmatism butts heads with reality, or, idealism butts its heads with pragmatism, right? Like I say, there's plenty of fantasies that we can all live in, like, oh, well, China's going to take over, California or something like that. It's like, nah, it's not going to be, this isn't Red Dawn, So I think that that's not going to happen. I do think that the United States will break apart. I just don't, like I say, I think that China will still have the soft power strategy. That's my opinion. I feel that way because I just don't think China wants to deal with that, to be honest with you. I think China will appeal to the Asian communities in general, and obviously specifically Chinese communities, those of Hakka origin mostly. I believe I'm trying to say that right, of Cantonese origin, from Hong Kong or just from Guangdong province, where a lot of the Chinese diaspora is from. They're originally from, southern China mostly. And like I say, I know it's not all the same and everything, and Han and everything else. I know I'm getting into like some HBD type stuff. I'm just saying, randomly speaking. But beyond that, there's a lot of isms out there. We see Jason Unruh talk about stuff. You know what? Let's not even use his name again, but there are folks who talk about third worldism. Excuse me, I'm really having a time there. Ooh. Okay, sorry. But people will talk about third worldism. They'll talk about National Socialism. They'll talk about syndicalism. Not as much. They'll just talk about anarchism, because syndicalism is an old-fashioned word that only, bookworms and spurgs online really talk about. But, the continued form of capitalism, or whichever the case may be, right? I think that it's all going to come out of who's going to support whom, right? Like I say, I'm still going to think these over my head. Maybe it'll come out good. Maybe it'll come out not so good. I don't know. But I think that, we are approaching a point maybe similar to Weimar. I know. Weimerica. I know. I'll tone it down. But the factions are coming up. And, some have gained a lot of popularity. Others have lost a lot. For example, I would say the far right has been massively weakened. And of course, everybody thinks everybody's a Fed, this and that, right? Plenty of folks are in jail, etc., right? And people are saying, well, libertarians are far right. And I'm like, well, I'm to a point. There's some overlap, but I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and defend libertarians, but the various forces are coming up. Now, not all of these are going to last, obviously. It all depends on how much power they have and what sort of resources and what their party programs are about, right? Obviously, when you get into, like Maoist third worldism and maybe some ML stuff, they're going to want to, decolonize the U.S., right? Or at least parts of it, the parts that they take over. They're going to kick some honkies out. And they're going to keep the more valuable honkies around. That's my opinion, anyway. And then you'll get your various other groups that happen. The thing is that radicalism is nothing new. It just comes up when the status quo cannot meet the goals. I saw plenty of videos yesterday, and coming, in the past week or two, where it's like, time's up, time's running out on Biden to do something about Iran, or to do something about Medicare for all, this and that. And you see this pitiful sort of belief where it's just like, well, only he can save it, or this and that, and people are just going woohoo, this and that. And of course, you hear people like David Pakman, who's like, well, it's part of the process. It's part of the process of being president, for these things. It's just like, and then of course you hear him just, very nonchalantly say, well, I'm going to be going to Italy for a wedding. And it's just like, that's nice for you, isn't it? That's lovely. And like I say, I'm not going to sit here and I'm just saying, I'm drinking some haterade, but it's like, isn't that nice for you? You get to go to Italy. Bring me back some pasta. I don't know. Yeah. Bring me back some, music, molto bene, I don't know. But that's the whole thing. Radicalism is just about who gets to win. And like I said, I think this country is not going to fall under one big thing. I really don't think, fascism is going to come back. People still talk about, oh, yeah, well, Trump's fascism is going to return, that the GOP are fascists and everything. It's like, they're still basic bitch MAGA Pete's, all right? They're still going to keep up the talk of Israel, this and that. Yeah, they may implement some things here and there, but I think people are still going to fight it. I don't think that there is some overwhelming love of Republicans, in my opinion. I just don't see it. I could be wrong. I've said that before. The radicalism that exists, right now is mostly LARPing. It's mostly online. Some of it is out in the streets, but overall it doesn't have a lot of teeth to it. There's some elements of it that may be violent or have some potential, but in general, I think it's still weak. And there are not a lot of people that are exposed to it, apart from folks that are on the internet, that go on Discord or wherever, right? Like I say, radicalism is going to happen. Same thing as I say about violence. There's a lot of folks, of course, online who will say, oh, of course I disagree with violence, wink, wink. I say this. I'll say, yeah, I disagree with violence, but it's going to happen. That's the difference. It's going to happen. And just learn to follow, as they say in the 5%ers. 5%ers use this term, do the knowledge. Do the knowledge. It's kind of like, you look at people's faces, or you look at the agitation that exists, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to get out of that situation, and you sense it. You're like, you know what? I'm going to walk away from that. Now, if it's a mass scale sort of violence, when, windows are being broken, this and that, then, maybe you find a way to blend in for a little bit, and say, yeah, fight the power, get that off, and scurry your way out, whichever, right? Like I say, ultimately, these videos have proven that I am ultimately a coward. And I'm, at times I am a LARPer, but this is getting real rambly, isn't it? Oh boy, man. Like I said, I try to temper the LARPing, but I would say this is that radicalism is going to occur on some level, whatever you want to define radicalism as. If you want to look at I'm trying to think of his name now. The guy who wrote the book on it. Story of whatever the hell it is, yeah. What the hell is it? Yeah. These are actions of people who advocate through complete political or social reform. Oh, okay. Radical books. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Revolutionary Suicide. Huh. Sorry, I'm Rules for Radicals. There you go. Saul Alinsky. That's it. Thank you. Okay. A revolution will not be funded. Black Marxism. Black Radical. Bring the war home. Oh, wow. Very, very tense image there. Bring the war home. Like I said, I have my biases, but I really don't think the far right is as much of a threat as it once was. People are still going to play it up because obviously, you need people like them to point your fingers. But like I said, I don't think it's that strong. Whereas, a lot of, BLM, I don't think is, between the folks at the leadership versus the folks at the bottom, those are two different things. But even then, BLM, I don't think serves a real threat. Elements of it will, I think. Just as, been reading this book about Malcolm X, I've been taking a break on it, but a lot of folks were influenced for a time with Garveyism. They were influenced by the ideas of Marcus Garvey to create more of a middle-class life where, you get a job, you create that black community. Now, of course, people can disagree with me, but of course, a lot of that was destroyed because of the destruction of Tulsa and Black Wall Street. I'm not going to get into the history of that because I would just make a fool of myself, but that's, a lot of that Garveyism died. It still exists, but it's not really well liked. People will just say, now we don't like capitalism. We don't really care for Marxism. We want to have more of a, communalist type system. Now, of course, people like Jason Unruh, of course, will simultaneously be like, we don't like populism. We want this more, like I said, I'm not sure what it is, but you know what? I've rambled long enough. I'll just finish up with this. I think I've said it already, but radicalism is going to happen. It all comes down to what sort of support they can build. It also comes down to what sort of, how they are able to adapt. And how can they keep as many people loyal as possible? Because obviously, there are going to be splits. It just depends on how many splits there are and whether those splits can at least prevent you from losing too many members from the core group, right? So when NOI broke apart, it has had at least 3 breaks that I can think of. And there are probably many, many more. But, the thing is that one Farad Muhammad gave power of the Nation of Islam to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who, according to this book I'm reading, came from Malcolm X by saying the word honorable. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you had many folks who left because they disagreed. And so a lot of them joined the Ahmadiyya, I believe, which was more of a legitimate Sunni Muslim group. The second split that I can think of was the one with Malcolm X. There were folks who had left the Nation of Islam due to Elijah Muhammad's infidelities with his female secretaries. So you had the creation of the Muslim Mosque Incorporated. Actually, no, there's 4, excuse me. You had Muslim Mosque Incorporated, which became a Sunni Muslim group, but it was made up of a lot of brothers that were still from the streets, this and that. You had Wallace Muhammad, the son of Elijah Muhammad, who was in a struggle with Louis Farrakhan, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, to separate these things. I've done a video on this, but I'm just going to say it now that I'm here. And did away, for example, Wallace Muhammad did away with the Fruit of Islam and did away with Muhammad Speaks and all that sort of thing. By the 1970, or excuse me, Elijah Muhammad passed away in 1975. By the 1980s, by the mid-80s, Wallace Muhammad just kind of gave in and, ultimately gave up the power of the Nation of Islam back to Louis Farrakhan. And of course, in amongst that as well, there was many accounts of how the NOI was getting their money, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing is, this is just an example of how groups break apart, right? And, if it's based on, like I say, if it's like Islam, are you going to have your version of Islam as, Nation of Islam did? I saw, like I said, there's one thing that really kind of, Manning Marable's book, where he compares Nation of Islam to Shia Islam. And I'm like, woo, that's a spicy take, my brother, even though he died in 2011. Anyway, but I think this is just an example of the way groups can break apart. And obviously, there have been plenty of examples of that going on the left. I mean, I could talk about Commander Rockwell and the breaking part of that group as well, but that's a whole other thing. So yeah, radicalism is one thing, but then radicalism can turn into the status quo. And it's not as cool anymore, right? But, when when you have the opportunity to make a lot of money and you can build up some safety, a lot of that's a very powerful thing, and maybe that will serve for my next video because I'm going on way too long. So I hope you'll enjoy that. And you know what? Stick around for the next one because I'm going to go ahead and record it right now. So enjoy this one and watch for the next one. See you later. Goodbye.